Some of the most influential prayer that I've ever experienced in my life wasn't even the times when I was praying. I remember being 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years old, and hearing a noise early in the morning coming from the living room. As I would sneak out of my room and towards the living room, there I would find my mom kneeling before the couch, Bible in hand, and just crying out to God. I would hear her pray, sometimes for hours there. Something about just hearing her voice and knowing that she was praying just brought such a peace to my soul. I would lay there and just listen and just feel such hope. In fact, most of the time, I would sit there and fall asleep. And she would come and wake me up when she was done, and we'd start the day. I've had a lot of similar experiences when I pray. That there are moments when I could just feel heaven near, where I just know that God is listening. And I just feel such hope and such life and such peace in those moments. Without fail, here's the problem that I encounter. Eventually, I get up and walk away from those moments. I can't remember what I prayed for. I can't remember what led to God's presence being so near. The same thing happened with my mother. I loved listening to her pray. But once I got up, once the day got going, I couldn't tell you what she prayed. That feeling of longing was amplified in me even more after my mom passed away. How I wish I could go back and listen to her voice again, listen to her pray for me, feeling the closeness that she had to God in those moments. But there was no going back. Then one day, my brother and I were going through some of my mom's old stuff, and in one of the boxes, we came across her old Bibles. They were beaten up and worn out. In fact, this is one of them. They may look worn and tattered, but it's because they are. She had used these Bibles every day. She would read what God was telling her. She would listen for what God would speak to her. One of the most beautiful things that we found is she would begin to write down her prayers in the Bible, in the margins. Not just in the Bibles, but we found notebook after notebook of her just communicating with God back and forth. It was as if she was praying those things for me all over again. Now, I could see the way that God had answered her prayers. She had prayed for me, that God would send me a godly wife, and He did. She prayed that my kids would be healthy and taken care of, and they are. She had prayed that I would return to the calling that He had on my life so early, and I did. I could see God's faithfulness all over her prayers. And it made me want to see God's faithfulness in my own life. So beyond just taking her Bibles with me, I started to do the same thing that she did. I started to write down the things that I was praying. I started to write down the ways that God had answered. I started to keep a journal, to write in my Bible. Even now, I go back about once a year and read over my old journals. It's a beautiful time of seeing God's faithfulness to me and my family, my church. I can see how God has never left me, even when times are difficult, even when things got tough. He was there with me every time. This isn't something new that my mom discovered. Even in the Bible, when God was speaking to the prophet Jeremiah, over and over, he reminded him, write down the things that I say to you. I think God knew that we were going to need to remember when he speaks. Why don't you give it a try this week? Just pause for a few moments after you read your Bible, after you pray. Just pause and hear what God would say. And then whatever you hear, whatever he whispers to your heart, write it down. Do that every day this week, and then go back at the end of the week and just read what he says. You might be surprised to hear God praying over you.